shared about asking a question without totally formulating it first, and that the things that zoomed through my mind. I don't belong here. I'm not like these people. What am I doing here anyway? The way they do things is not the way I do things. Okay, so let me tell you what that is. Baby, that's a healthy human brain. There is 0% wrong with that showing up. And here's what. A lot of folks don't even realize that that is running under the surface. For a lot of us, it is. So, I mentioned it. I realized when I was asking this question, I hadn't even formulated what I wanted. They're AI pictures. And I said, I hadn't even formulated what I wanted to use these pictures for. So, of course, it makes sense that I was having tunnel vision. Like, because a lot of these people use witchy photos and goddessy photos and things that are surreal and way beautiful. I don't know if you know me, but I'm Brandy Moran. I'm a mindset mentor and a body sensation defunculator, and I remind you that the most spiritual thing you can do is get down and dirty in your humanity. Okay, so what I realized was, I was just looking at their beautiful pictures, and I hadn't even realized, what did I want to create these pictures for? Because certainly there's something that I could use these things for. And then somebody said, and then I was like, I thanked everyone. Thank you for asking your clarifying questions. Thank you for noticing, I think you might be asking this question, because that's handy. Sometimes we don't even know what question we're asking. And one lady was like, when I said, I noticed now that, like, I saw y'all's beautiful pictures and I thought, I'm not like them. I don't do things like them. I don't belong here. Right? And she said, don't think like that. And I laughed because I thought, well, I didn't on purpose think like that. I thought to myself, because this is a person who already, I felt like there was a little push-pull between. She was like, no offense, lol. And I'm like, I don't have time for offense. She's like, well, I didn't mean it like that. So I already felt like we were having a little over-explaining. So the best response was no response, except this is a response in my head and the response I want to share with y'all. Darling, you noticed that was the undercurrent of what you're thinking? That's a win. That's a win. And no, we don't want to... Given a choice and given the option, no, that's not how we want to think about us, about our life, about the things, because that's a false identity. Somebody else, I gathered that identity. That is not my true identity. The not belonging, the don't belong here, not like them. That's false. And the part where my initial knee-jerk reaction, I noticed later, came from that line of thought is 0% problematic. 0. Because it's not dragging me around by my nose hairs. Know why? Because I've learned to notice it. And then I've learned to not say things like, I shouldn't think that way. Honey, you're gonna think that way if you have a healthy human brain, and you do. I want you to know that whatever your knee-jerk reaction thought is, even and most especially when you don't notice it until later, it's not a problem. You are not a problem. You have habits and ways that you have learned how to move through this world, how to self-protect and self-project that aren't actually true. They aren't the true you. True you. They're not. But it's how we've learned, right? How we learn to get along by getting by, or get by getting along, or whatever. Okay. Really? What are you talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. You're going to have thoughts that just drop into your brain. Maybe you'll be delivered from those thoughts. And if you are not, and they show up again, you might call them persistent thoughts. You might call them thought loops. You might, and they happen in your body too. But anyway, what my point is that I was saying is, it's not a problem, baby. The magic is learning to notice them and to be like, oh. It's like my girl dogs. When I would go in the store, they would jump in the front seat. When I wasn't being aware and around, they would jump in the front seat. And I would come out of the store, and when I was within earshot, I would say to them, puppies don't drive. And they would jump in the back seat. But as long as I pretended they weren't in the front seat and just got in, they wanted to be in the front seat. And I am not a dogs in the front seat kind of dog, mama. Okay. You are not a problem to be fixed. You get to feel whole without being healed. You are running on a program, babe. And if you think you haven't been hypnotized, then think about how many times as a kiddo you were like, I sure hope I grow up and I feel not enough. I sure hope when I grow up, I'm afraid to say things that I want to say and do things that I want to do. I'm afraid. I want to grow up and then tell myself and other people that I'm afraid to be successful. I want to grow up and I want to make myself sick with resentment about being in a job I hate, about being in a relationship that doesn't work for either of us, but we got to stay in it. Man, I sure hope all that happens with me. Because if you're living any of that, you've been hypnotized and you don't understand the innate, powerful being that you are, that you were created to be and be in this world like you are, with an identity that was whispered to you and about you before the foundations of the earth, and it was knit into you in your mother's womb. You were created to create. You were loved into being, even if you were born into not a loving situation, babe. Getting your identity from humans is always going to lead to sorrow. Always. I am madly in love with you. Come and play in Sturdy Hall and Porch Party. If you go in my profile, the links are there. Come hang out with us. Friend, this year, this coming year, 2025, I'm going to speak this over you. You are going to come to know yourself and open yourself to receiving, to wanting to want to receive that you are purposeful and worthy, and not in the way that the world is like, that's purposeful and worthy, but in a deep way that you take into whatever you're doing. Maybe it's deeper than values. When you understand the identity that was whispered to you, we live our life different. And there's always more understanding, because there's more than one identity for you, and it shifts in seasons. I am so madly in love with you. Come and play with us in Sturdy Hall or Porch Party. All right? All right.